a bid on Greenland. This is actually happening, and it's real.
Well, and I can't decide if we should even be talking about this seriously or just laughing. So delusional. But can you imagine if another foreign leader said, you know, Hawaii's pretty nice. Those are some great islands, and I like to surf. It would help our tourism portfolio. We're going to buy. So what's the price, Donald Trump? What's the price on Hawaii?
He's a real estate
He probably would.
Yeah.
He probably would. But this is just like all of Donald Trump's ideas. It's such a blast from the past in that President Truman proposed annexing Greenland back in 1946 after World War II. So Donald Trump, maybe we need a little bit more innovation and looking forward to 2046 instead of 1946.
So Elise asks a really good question, Mika, and that is, should we be covering this? Is it serious? Well, of course, we decided yesterday not to cover it that much because it wasn't serious. It seemed to be a joke. But when you have the United States of America canceling bilateral meetings,
oh my God,
based on a harebrained idea in a way that, again, not only impacts our relationship with that country, but also causes even deeper concerns across Europe and the rest of the world, that the President of the United States does not seem to be moored, that suddenly becomes an important news story.
Yeah.
Now to what Joe was talking about at the top. President Trump continues to believe Russia should be readmitted into the G7. Russia was expelled from the group in 2014 after its illegal annexation of Crimea and downing a civilian airplane. But yesterday, Trump renewed his call to readmit the country and claimed President Obama was the true reason for its expulsion.
So it was the G8 for a long time, and now it's the G7. And a lot of time we talk about Russia. We're talking about Russia because I've gone to numerous G7 meetings. And I guess President Obama, because Putin outsmarted him, President Obama thought it wasn't a good thing to have Russia in. So he wanted Russia out. So I could certainly see it being the G8 again. And if somebody would make that motion, I would certainly be disposed to think about it very favorably. But as you know, for most of the time, it was the G8. It included Russia. And President Obama didn't want Russia in because he got outsmarted. Well, that's not the way it really should work.
The Trump administration has accused Russia of interfering in Syria and Venezuela,
They have.
conducting illegal activity in Crimea, attempting to assassinate a former spy in the UK,
Check, they have.
violating a Cold War-era arms treaty.
You know they did that too.
And helping North Korea violate sanctions, in addition
Check.
to Moscow's past and present interference in America's political system.
Still doing it.
But sure, let's get him back in the G8. There's
And by the way,
got to be an explanation
all of
for
that, Donald Trump says, Mika, is Barack Obama's fault. And in addition to backing Russia's re-entry into the G7, as I said before, President Trump said he would welcome Russia going back into Afghanistan.
The Soviet Union became Russia because of Afghanistan. That's what happened. Very simple. They became Russia because of Afghanistan. Somebody would say, oh, well, would Russia go in? I said, if they want, let them. I think they tried that before. However, didn't work out too well.
Anybody that has studied, and certainly conservatives across America and the world have studied the history of the Soviet Union, its collapse. Most trace it back to Reykjavik, and no one has said that of any note that it was Afghanistan alone that caused the collapse of the Soviet Union. Mike Barnicle, though, Donald Trump, as we've said, is ignorant of constitutional norms. He's ignorant of American history. He's ignorant of world history. My gosh, anybody that had suffered through his explanation of Kashmir yesterday has ample evidence of that. Oh, sweet Lord. Please, make it stop, make it stop. But here Donald Trump, though, is talking about how we should welcome Russia back into Afghanistan, just like he was fine with Russia going back into the Middle East for the first time in 1973 in Syria. That has caused so many problems. Talk to our generals, our admirals, our military leaders. That has caused so many problems regarding Syria, regarding Iran, regarding potential conflict with Israel, our ally. But Mike, why does the president on the same day say, because I have no explanation for it, why does the president on the same day say, admit Russia into the G8, make it the G8 again, and admit Russia after, of course, Russia's trying to disrupt American democracy, and also let Russia walk into Afghanistan? What's going on here, Mike? Do you have an explanation? Because
No, I don't, Joe. I mean, other than the fact that there's only two people probably on earth who know why he says these things about Russia. One of them is Vladimir Putin, and the other is Donald Trump. There is something there. There is something always there when he talks about Russia. And in those clips we played...
Hey, Mike, do you remember what Kevin McCarthy, who now is Trump's chief propagandist on Capitol Hill, do you remember Kevin McCarthy actually warned other members of the Republican caucus before Donald Trump became nominee that he believed strongly that Donald Trump had been bought off, had been paid off along with Dana Rohrabacher by the Russian government?
I do recall that. I do recall that. I don't recall Kevin McCarthy talking about it lately, but I do recall that. But, you know, in those clips that we played, Joe, you can really understand, in retrospect, why General Mattis just quit. He had to leave. I mean, you cannot be surrounded by such abnormalities coming out of the mouth of the President of the United States on a consistent, on a daily, multiple times a day basis. Yeah, I don't know. We cannot make it normal, but there's a new normalcy when you see the President multiple times a day saying things that are absolutely not only wrong, but crazy.
Well, and can I just add to that?
By the way, line that up.
The comments on Afghanistan are particularly inappropriate in the days following a horrible suicide bomb that killed 63 Afghans at a funeral. And at the time that we're in the middle of trying to broker a very contentious and tenuous peace between the Afghan government and the Taliban that plenty of Afghans don't want to go along with, but we're trying to find some way to withdraw from the country. And then you've got Donald Trump talking about bringing Russia back to Afghanistan. It's as if he has no context of the larger picture and of one of the most important diplomatic processes ongoing right now that he should ostensibly be overseeing.
Yeah, you know, Willie, I always told my kids some basic things. If something seems to be too good to be true, it is. And also, if things don't make sense, there's a good reason. Let's overlay what we heard from the president yesterday with Helsinki, where he said he trusted an ex-KGB agent more than he trusted, of course, his own FBI director, his own CIA director, his own Department of Homeland Security director, his own director of national intelligence, that he trusted their assessment more than he trusted his own intel community's assessment, that he trusted Vladimir Putin more than he trusted the U.S. military's intelligence arm. And then you even go back to our show in December, mid-December of 2015, when Donald Trump said that Vladimir Putin was a great leader and a strong leader and somebody that he had great respect for, that unlike Barack Obama, Vladimir Putin was a strong leader, and he seemed absolutely unfazed by the fact that when we brought up the fact that, of course, Vladimir Putin kills journalists, kills politicians he disagrees with, and is an autocrat. And there's just a history, and that history continues, and yesterday was another chapter in that dark history.
Yeah, and that was during the campaign, Joe. Now that he's the President of the United States, sitting in the Oval Office, commenting about the previous resident of the White House, the man who sat in the Oval Office for 8 years before him, Barack Obama, and suggesting that Barack Obama, his predecessor, was outmaneuvered by Vladimir Putin, and that's why we are where we are, which is a complete, obviously, misrepresentation of what happened. He either doesn't know or is deliberately misstating what happened to take the side of Vladimir Putin, and while doing it, taking a shot at the previous